Welcome, y'all. This is Pastor McCoy coming to y'all live. We want to say thank y'all for tuning in to YouTube, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms that I'm going to post this on. You know, the world that we live in today is a total different world than what we used to live in. We used to live simple lives. Them simple lives used to equate to us waking up in the morning, going out, checking our livestock, making sure nobody broke out, nobody in the road getting ran over, checking on the cows. Also, we go and check the chicken coop, make sure there was eggs still in the coop and the fox hadn't got in the coop. Them used to be our biggest issues. But now, we've all migrated away from that lifestyle, and now we're living in the major cities. And these major cities have given us new and different worlds that we have to live in. And basically it's violent. And when you're living in these cities, if you don't have a violent mentality, as in you're willing to protect yourself from the violence, you're going to end up a victim. People are doing things these days that used to be in the movies only, but now it's reality. We got to start looking at how we operate and what we bring to the table, and how we see this world. As in, the days of us living humble and peaceful is over. If you don't have a mindset where you're going to protect yourself by all means and whatever, by any means necessary, like I say, you're going to end up a victim. We need to change where we live. We need to try to get back to where our lives were simple. Our biggest worry is what the animals are doing. Did the animals act like animals last night and eat the chickens? Or did the snake act like a snake last night and eat the eggs? That's what we need to get back to. We need to get back to that type of living. We live longer. I got grandparents and great grandfathers and great uncles, and they lived well into their 80s and 90s, and they lived to their last day. Like their last day was their teenage years. They didn't have no aches, they didn't have no pains. They lived off the land though. They lived in that same location their whole life. They was immune to everything that was in their environment because they had lived there their whole life. Every plant that grew, every weed that grew, there was no such thing as allergies. They didn't have allergies. They lived off of what was grown from their environment. If you got a bushel of corn from your neighbor, you shuck that corn and you peeled it off the cob, and you cooked it one day. You didn't have to cook it that day. You cooked it one day, fried it up, and you ate it. You had some okra from another neighbor, it was good. You ain't have to worry about that neighbor putting no barbiturates in it. You ain't have to worry about that neighbor putting no crazy antibiotics on it to make it grow faster, steroids. You ain't have to do none of that. You ain't have to worry about none of that. And we lived off of what we ate. Back in the day, we didn't go to the doctor because the government used to run experiments on us. We'll see how the black man reacted to syphilis. Y'all seen that documentary that just came out? They had these people have syphilis for 10 years straight. The cure was penicillin. But they wouldn't give them that cure because they told them that it was going to blow their heart up if they took the penicillin. So they suffered They went from being healthy individuals, dancing and vibrant, to being blind, crippled. Not good. That ain't good at all. I was doing a little mentoring the other night, and one of my main things, what I always do is when I ask somebody asks me to mentor them, or to get them out of the current situation they're in to a better situation, I always try to change the way they think. Because we've been taught to be slaves for our whole life. Everything we do is based on being a slave. Stand up right when you come up in the interview room. Don't have no tattoos showing. Have a decent hairdo. Wear pearls. Wear your best, your Sunday's best when you're coming in for that interview. Because you're begging for something. You ain't coming in there asking. You ain't coming there to get rewarded for what your hard work has done, getting these degrees and all that. You begging. You begging for a position. You begging for a job, which is no guarantee that job is going to give you everything that you want in life. But you just happy to get that job so you can pay back that student loan, which is thousands of dollars. There's about 43 million student loans in the world, but there's over $1 trillion worth of student loans that equal to the debt amount. That's another client. I reached out to him after this video. But what I'm trying to say is that if you've been trained to be slaves your whole life, then what you think you're gonna do when you grow up? You're gonna grow up and be a slave. That's a guarantee. So I always challenge my clients to be more conscious of what's going on around them. So I asked my client the other night, I say, no matter what I tell you tonight, no matter what I try to explain to you, you're not gonna get it today. You're not gonna get it until it works for you. I tell them all the time, I ain't gonna never tell you to do something I ain't never did. Well, guess what? We at that point to where we're the show me culture. Show me or it ain't true. So I said, instead of me showing them, I can show them the account where I made $100,000 off of Airbnbs. I can show that. I want to make $1 million off of Airbnbs. So what I tell them is this. I said, you got 30 days to make $100 outside of your 9 to 5. Now, the one that can come back with that $100 in their hand and show me that they did it, I'm willing to work with them. The one that can't come back with that $100, I know for a fact they've been indoctrinated and their mindset is basically limited to about $25 to $30 ability to make that kind of money. If they rent depended on them having a place to live, in the next 30 days, they needed to make $75. They couldn't do it. If somebody had laid them off from their work, they couldn't do it. Why not? Because we haven't never been trained to make money. We've been trained to be slaves. We've been trained to work, to be workers. And that worker ain't nothing more than an asset of somebody else's. When they say you should have 7 assets if you want to be a millionaire, you should have 7 streams of income, that ain't the case. Because if you would think about it, everybody that has 7 streams of income, 9 times out of 10, has employees. You being an employee is a stream of income. Because I guarantee you, a damn company that you working for is paying you more than the work is worth. And I say that because there ain't damn company that's gonna give you $100 for a job that's worth $100 to do. Not as an employee. You're the employee. That employer is probably getting $200 to do that job, and he's gonna give you $25. Because if he don't do that, then he's out of business. quick. So I challenge y'all that just listen to this video right now. What would you do tomorrow if we said that your job is gone and you need to make $100 for the next 30 days? You're not gonna be able to pay your mortgage. You're not gonna be able to pay your rent. I see so many people come on social media and they put on now, won't he do it? God is good because I got a new house. That house is your biggest burden for the next 30 years. That's the biggest purchase you're gonna make in your lifetime. Is gonna be that house. Well, guess what? Everybody thinks it's an accomplishment. Well, you know what it really is? That's a bank's product. The bank can't just give you $300,000 in your hand and say, "Hey, pay me back in interest," because 9 times out of 10, it ain't gonna happen. You gonna default on that loan. So what they gonna lend you that money on? That house. They're gonna give you a mortgage. Everybody's praising God and thanking God for getting them a house with a mortgage. That mortgage was never designed for you to completely pay off. Never. And if some reason, some miracle happened that you just so happen to make it for 30 years and never lose your job and never lose your income and you can pay for that mud for 30 years, guess what happens? You paid it off, but you still don't own it. If you think you own it, take 1 year and not pay the taxes on it. That house goes back to the state. And what they're gonna do, they're gonna sell it to somebody else and gonna make another 30 years of mortgage payments on it. You'll never own it. So stop praising God for giving you something that you'll never own. You never will. So unless you got a means to pay for that property or that house while you at home in the bed sleep every night, you should probably not get a property. You should probably not own a house. Don't believe everything they tell you. Now the guy that I'm mentoring, I want him to come back with an option. Because usually, you know what I'm saying, we think, okay, if I want to make $20, I'm going to go out here and pick up some cans, take them to the recycling company. I'm going to get a bucket and a sponge, and I'm going to go and wash some cars. Yeah, you bought up to $25 an hour, $25 a day, $30 a day. It depends on how many cars you can wash. But after you hit that point, what's next? What are you gonna do? What you gonna do to make money beyond washing cars? Nothing, cause you don't know. Ain't nobody never taught that. Ain't nobody never told you how to make more than $30 a day. Man, is that sad or what? I tell you another thing. The main reason why 90% of y'all are in debt or just can't pay your bills is because you get paid on the 1st and the 15th. It's 2022. There's no reason why you can't get paid every day for the work you do. If you was able to do that, though, 90% of the people that are living in poverty wouldn't be in poverty no more. I get paid $80 every day. That changes the game because now you got money in hand to be able to make that payment that's due instead of waiting 2 weeks for to get that paycheck. Well, I don't like to talk beyond y'all. Me getting home, so I'm pulling in right now. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. But I want y'all to like and subscribe to my channel because I'm be coming to you every day with information and this sort. And if you have questions about why you don't feel like your efforts are receiving the income that you deserve to receive, go ahead and put a comment in there. We can have a discussion on it. Because trust me, you have never received the education or the training that you should be receiving to succeed in this world. This is Pastor McCoy out.